Alright, today we're going to be taking apart a 2003 F350 6.0 turbo diesel fuel injector. The hardest part of this whole job is separating this part from this part. See? This part. I already did this. And the reason why I did it is because off a camera, it takes a hell of a lot of strength. Now, I didn't do it the right way. I used this. I do it the way that works. This worked. Yes, it took a lot of effort. I may have almost had a hernia or passed out, and then I used a adjustable wrench, not recommended, but if you're drunk or if you just don't want to go out and get the tool, if you don't have the right stuff, you can go ahead and make this work. What you gotta do is you gotta take care not to scratch up or damage anything over here with this adjustable. Now, I attempted to make a tool because separating these two is extremely difficult. So I attempted to make a tool that had a hole drilled here, and for the fuel injector would sit right here, and then what holds the injector down, which is this little piece right here, would fit. And I was hoping to maybe grab this notch right here and have it set like this and spin this portion. So it would just sit right in there. Boom, beautiful. And then I would torque this off, or turn this off right here. Supposedly it's 80 foot-pounds. That didn't work the way I wanted it to. So what I ended up doing was breaking one of them. You see right here, the notch is no longer a notch. Do not use the hold down to hold down while you torque it, or try to break torque on the injector. Terrible idea. So I use this. I use these two. And the way I did that was from separating. Step one, what you want to do is get a 4mm socket and a T10 bit to go on this end of the socket. There's really no torque put on the small bolt. I believe someone said half a newton meter, which is about 4 inch-pounds, roughly. I'm not too good with measurements. I'm just a guy in a garage, also known as my basement. So once we got this separated, this comes off like so. A couple little pieces. Alright, so that separates. So this little bolt and the nut. And this part you could take open like so, and then push this off. Pops right off. Try to remember which way it goes on. If you look, there's part marking in the back, and I put the black wire in the back. That helps me remember. I also like to lay out 2 pieces of paper towel to make things sit. You see there's a rougher surface on a table. That helps out a lot. Now with that separated, you can actually grip this surface with these, and it interlocks pretty perfectly. Takes a little patience. Make sure you line this up. This is crucial. Look at that, beautiful, right? So it holds on perfectly. Then I took the adjustable sat it on here like so. And in order to get the right amount of force downwards, I used a socket as a fulcrum point. Well, a bigger socket than this. And then you apply pressure, a lot of pressure, to the point where you think you're going to faint, but luckily you don't. And that separates these two. Now once we got these separated, we just spin this off. I like to hold it upright. Spins right off. I put that down as the top portion. I keep the top portion separate from the bottom portion. Put my finger in here. Some people like to scrape this off. I don't really need to. With my injectors, it seems to come right off. If it seems like this sometimes will get stuck, you gently put this on the ground and push down, and it'll come right out like so. And then hold it up like a tower. That goes down here. So this is the whole assembly. It's all together using these essentially guide pins. Now it's laid out. I like to lay them out here. This is the gasket. You can pop these two O-rings off here. That's usually all that people do. They don't get this in depth when they, like if you reseal, it's easy. You just go, you can buy a kit. It's $5 for all the gaskets. Well, per injector. Now there's another kit they offer, which is like, I believe 10 gaskets. That's roughly $16. Go to Ford, buy the parts online. They're pretty cheap. That's the O-rings. Once those are off, you don't really need to take them off now, but when you want to put them back together. Now this separates. In here there's a spring. This is a portion. See how sometimes they get stuck together and you don't recognize it's actually a piece? That's what you got to watch out for. But that just slides right off. That's just viscosity holding it up there. On the other end, you can see this tiny little ball bearing. Don't drop this. If you do, get a powerful magnet and try to scoop it up. So once you take that, it won't pop out until you actually, well, it might pop out, but once you separate these two, that's when it generally falls out. You tap on it. It's in there pretty good. Since the oil holds it in. It's a very tiny piece. No, it's not a little piece. There's a little plate right here. And also it's got to come out. I like to keep like you saw me take out the O-rings with this cut piece of zip tie. Pull that right out. Pops right down. Falls off the... There we go. You could kind of keep them organized like this. That's how I prefer. Everything looks like... You can notice things when you take them apart. Like, oh man, this... You know, see this little ring right here? You figure, alright, that goes in here with this. And here goes here. The little weird triad looking thing. You can kind of see the indentations on the top portion of this injector, so you know it seats here. And you just gotta line up. Everything pretty much lines up. It all makes sense. There's nothing complicated about this. But you don't gotta go into this much depth, because there's really nothing you could do at this portion here, at this far down. Now here's the only thing you really need to worry about. This is the nozzle. I like to clean this. I use like a Scotch-Brite, like a really low-grade Scotch-Brite. I've seen some guy cleaning with like 80 grit sandpaper. So you know, using a piece of Scotch-Brite isn't going to be that bad compared to what he was doing. So you just want to clean that up real quick. I use WD-40 to lubricate while I scrape away at the dirty injectors. This is kind of what an unclean tip looks like versus a clean one. I didn't get to clean these yet. I already cleaned this one over here. So it's a pretty big difference getting all that gunk off of there. Now, once you get this out and get this cleaned up, this is the most important part. Sometimes it sticks. Now, I don't know if you saw that sleight of the hand trick here, but inside here there's a pin. And it kind of just comes right out. Maybe a little tappage. And you pull that right out. Boom. Perfect. And that's obviously the casing. Now this is my failed fuel injector. I don't know what's wrong with it. But if you look closely, you may be able to see that a few of this little screen right here has been destroyed somehow. So I gotta figure out what's going on with that. So this is pretty much the layout here. There's a long side of this and a short side. This short side goes to the spring. Spring, top portion goes together like this. Slides through, keep that with that. Now for this upper portion, this is not something you really need to take apart. But if you'd like to, which you really don't need to, you can use a T15 and take these screws out right here. Now another issue people claim is stiction, which is the spool valve right here on the top portion will not play side to side smoothly. So what they do is they take it out. They'll take 600 grit sandpaper and they'll place it against here and spin it. You can hear it sanding. Flip it over, do the same. Now you can notice that there's a bigger and a smaller side. Don't forget how they went in. So if you're taking multiple injectors out, as I am, you can kind of go back and forth with, oh yeah, that's how it should have been. But I kind of remember certain things, like the black goes to the back, right? So this is the back side with the part mark, and the small side goes to the nut. So small nut, right? Boom, slides in like so, and then small side goes to the nut. Nut goes to the bunch. So this is the bunch. So nut side goes to the bunch when you're reassembling. So that's an easy way to remember it for me, as you know. So we take that back out. Now if you want to take these apart, it's got a spring tension, so you take one off a little bit, the other one a little bit off, and eventually this thing will come apart. Now, I've already taken this apart and I didn't put it back fully, but once it seats in there, there's an O-ring that kind of holds it in. So when you're trying to pull these apart, do not go crazy with it. It's hard to separate. If you need to separate it, you do not really need to separate these. Now you see that little O-ring right there? That, when you're separating them, it's in there. So you have to push down, and then it separates, poof, it will kind of pop out. And if you're holding it like so and you're trying to pull, all this will come out. All this right here is going to fly right out onto the floor. And not a problem. Pick it up, wipe it off. I'm forget this little piece. Alright, so that's everything taken apart. It's really not that complex. It seems pretty complex, but honestly, I don't know what I'm doing, and I feel like this is a pretty easy thing to do. For then reassembly, start with this top piece. I wouldn't put this ball bearing back in just yet. Now, run these rods through here. It's going to hold itself up. Flip it over. That little plate, you could put it on the side here and then finger top, push it right into it. Then line up these. It builds itself. You know where it goes just by doing this. Alright, don't put the ball bearing in just yet. Now you can assemble this other portion. Put the short end into the spring like so. Hold the spring upright. Drop this piece right onto it. That way it doesn't flip inside. Make things a little easier. Put that top piece on. Line up these guide pins, guide rods. I don't know if that's a proper nomenclature for it. Nor do I care. Put that down. Grab this pin. Drop her in there. Before I should do that, I want to say something I should have probably said a little earlier. Now, when you want to test out to see if these injectors are spraying a proper pattern, take a little bit of brake clean, nozzle on there, put it in here. Now if you get it close to the paper towel, you may be able to see, like, now make sure you close your eyes because you don't know which direction these are facing. So give it a quick squirt. Boom. Okay, you can see some came out. But if you take, I usually place it against drywall, but you can see kind of the spray pattern that shoots out. Yeah, so you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you kind of want to make sure that they're even and they're actually shooting out. If not, then you got to clean it some more and really get it. Sometimes you'll see someone take like a tiny little, almost like a strand of a bristle brush it looked like, but they were actually cleaning the inside where these injector squirt patterns were supposed to be. They were actually cleaning that out somehow. Luckily for me, I don't have to do that. I may do it anyway, who knows. But the pattern seems decent. So you drop that pin back in there. Everything has a really tight tolerance, so just be careful when you're putting things through. They may not feel like they're gonna fit, but they will. So drop this in here like so. Everything's lined up. Now put this ball in and be very careful because I dropped one about 15 minutes ago and it took about 30 minutes to find. Line this up. Perfect. Stand it right up here like so. Drop everything together. Screw it together. For the rest of this, drop this in. That. Cover it. Don't forget this. So there's also, these holes line up a specific way, as you can see. Doesn't really matter. You gotta look for the one with the threads. Alright, so it's got threads. Now the back, there is an alignment for this as well. And if you look at it, top, keep this ring towards you, this notch. And if you look at the back side where the part marking, this is the back. So left hand's not my dominant, so I use this as my back. Right? So boom, that's how I kind of remember it. The hand that's in the front's usually a stronger hand. And the part mark in the back. Now this is a little tricky. Set it in there. Get this, and then kind of line it up. Watch out not to do any damage here. You're going to apply some downward pressure. It's a lot trickier when you're trying to demonstrate because you have to be mindful of the camera angles. So put a little pressure on it, bring it downwards about where you want it to seat. Once you get it in there, you take it, drop that in, kind of line up this little plate here. Don't mind that other screw that's just hanging around for no reason. Alright, I'm going to probably have to edit this out. I should probably just leave it in so show you guys how tricky it kind of is. Alright, so you want to start that a little bit, still keep some downward pressure on it. Go to the other end, drop that in, line it up. T15. Push the pressure down. Now you turn it side to side, alternating. See how it's kind of angled? I don't like that. Just got to keep the pressure on the top here. Do a couple turns, just to bring it back in, without trying to damage anything in there. Alright, so that's seated. Then small nut to the bunch. So black to the back, like so. Goes this way. Then small nut to the bunch. So like so. And small nut. Small side to the wire as well. Cap this back on. And that's essentially all it is. Now, if you don't want to break it down that far, if you're trying to just reseal, it's a very easy thing. Obviously these things, it's not major, it's not a surprise, it's nothing complicated. I wish that's all I did, because these injectors were fine, majority of them. But if you want to clean this and just be 100% certain that it's good to go, you're going to want to take this apart. Or you can just bring it to a shop, they might just test it for you. But I like to do everything myself, because I'm an idiot. And that's about all. That's it. Questions, comments? I check my videos rarely, maybe once a year, maybe more. And make sure you always have some kind of alcohol to drink when you work on your helicopters. All right.